Hi, this is Cajun, and it's time for our weekly conference call. The virus continues to be the global event that's driving most outcomes, and one of these outcomes relates to 55% of all the restaurants on Yelp in the United States being permanently closed. The Economist had an article titled, "The COVID-19 pandemic is forcing a rethink in macroeconomics," and this is for the first time in the history of economic theory. So here's how we're looking at things. The markets are being propped up right now. We're looking at an extended downturn, maybe of about 2 or more years. And that just means a lot of short side opportunities. And that means producing data sets that enable those kinds of opportunities, enable thematic baskets, thematic smart baskets, automatically generated using the systems and platforms that we have, data sets and NLP and NLU, to take advantage of the short side, and that's just within the financial markets industry. At a minimum, we can expect volatility on the upside and the downside, enough volatility so that we've got short and long side opportunities or baskets that we can execute on. And then converting that alpha, of course, to funding, which is going to be used to engage in drug repurposing and enabling the discovery of compounds that can be repurposed, approved compounds, and then advancing personalized medicine to fight infectious disease threats, and including those that are involved with space biosciences, like we've been talking about a bit on the channel. They're all related. On the industry side, we're going to wrap industry, crypto, and hedge funds, asset management companies, and life sciences together here. First, we'll talk about the fact that BTC and ETH have reached, they've broken resistance. They've reached new local highs, and this has put BTC at around 11.5. It spiked to 11.5, and ETH I think spiked to around 330. So those are very good signs, and it relates to something that we have talked about continually, and that is the tsunami effect, where you've got a bunch of cash that has been pulled and placed on the sidelines, and now it's looking for a place to be put to work. And that includes a lot of alternative assets that people are talking about. It also includes cryptocurrency. And it includes one other thing that we're working on, and one other thing that's a very hot topic today, and that is thematic investing, or thematic investing ETFs. And these are essentially smart baskets. They're themes. Global events, for example, like the coronavirus. That is an event. That's a theme that can be invested in if you generate equities or components that have hidden relationships in that basket, then trade them. We're also looking at more genes and drugs and proteins and pathways being discovered every day related to infectious disease, in particular COVID-19. And we're cataloging these internally for our own data acquisition efforts and for the data sets that we offer. On the engineering and product side, we have been working on a new data engineering pipeline for CERN. And this is related to the experiments they conduct related to testing theories in particle physics. And the first part of, I'm just going to read these points off. These were given to myself by engineering. I'll just interpret them on the fly. But we have a pre-processing stage, which is pretty common, that extracts titles and abstracts from science papers that we were given by CERN related to theoretical particle physics. We're working with just the abstracts. We'll work with the bodies and time. And number 2, create keywords and extract keywords using NER, named entity recognition approaches, of course, based on also summarization and layered forms of summarization models. And then correlation matrices are created after that. Those are the actual data sets, and then we visualize these clusters. We got a chance to take a look at the clusters, and they look pretty good so far. So that's on the CERN engineering pipeline side. And of course, every data engineering pipeline we build has an application across all industries. We do have to specialize those data engineering pipelines for particular industries or efforts. like the one at CERN. So that's mostly been happening on the engineering and the product side. There's a bit of engineering that's going to be necessary to support a demo video that we're producing. We'll talk more about that later. On the corporate side, we've been involved. We've been pretty busy in terms of spending a lot of time on capital raising, and this is because there's going to be a ratchet upward in our valuation related to the kinds of partners and customers and revenue that we're dealing with right now. So we're talking to a few groups that we committed to early on, and we're kind of taking their temperature, they're taking ours in terms of how much of the company we want to give away. And that would include on the equity arm and on the crypto arm. We're talking with a group called Dragon Block, and they represent a network of investors, which is pretty common, almost like a syndicated network, but a little larger. One of them was Starwind Capital. Another one that we have scheduled talks with, I think Thursday, would be Baidu Ventures. And we're very familiar with Baidu. Baidu is China's largest search engine, and their AI foundation was built by Andrew Ng. Andrew Ng, taught by Michael I. Jordan, who wrote a few papers related to what we do, and we wrote a paper related to his work, co-authored a paper as well related to genes and longevity and nematodes and the data sets associated. Michael I. Jordan also works or advises on the AI side for Ant Financial, owned by Alibaba. They're going to be IPOing as well. But Baidu Ventures is very familiar with ourselves. Baidu itself has a board of directors where Ide Nobuyaki, the former CEO of Sony, used to sit. I think he still sits on Baidu's board, but he was the CEO of Sony for 5 years, from 2000 to 2005. And that's when Sony was going to, that was right after Sony was interested in acquiring our company, a few years later, actually. But Ide Nobuyaki ran a firm called Quantum Leap and Daiwa Quantum Capital in Japan, where they invested in primarily Japanese companies. Jun Yamashita was our point person there, but they were an advisor to our company as well. And we look forward to pipelining some deals there in Japan and in South Korea and possibly China. We'll see. So we're talking with a few other investment groups under the umbrella of this Dragon Group, and we have a valuation right now that we're discussing in the range of $25 million, and that would be $2.5 million for a 10% equity stake. Our valuation, like I said, is ratcheting up based on the fact that we are going to be talked about to the public by a third party, and that's Alpha Week. And we're also going to be vetted by the world's largest financial information provider, S&P Global, and introduced to their customers as the best thing since sliced bread related to data sets. So that does nothing but add to our valuation, in addition to the fact that Palantir is IPOing, and they're in direct competition with us in terms of their relationship networks and the underlying data, how the connections are associated, how they treat vector space, if they use vector space in similar areas that we do, then our calculations are different and our relevance scoring is different. Those are the main ways that we actually compete, based on relevance and context-controlled relevance, which is even more important. On the IR, PR, and Marcom side, it's about time that we talk about the differences in PR. We're not a company that just issues a PR and calls it a day. We have an actual PR strategy and a PR pipeline, and we're very familiar with PR and what it can do, what it can accomplish. We've worked with several different PR firms in the past. We have executed on engineered PR, engineered IR, with firms in the past, so we kind of know it up and down. And we are interested in doing what's most effective, and that includes having industry trade publications initially write about you, not issuing a PR yourself, and not even having another company issue PR, and forget about a testimonial from another company or a customer. One of the best things you can do is create a foundation cornerstone of an industry trade publications write-up on you, and that's what we're doing with Alpha Week. That's where it starts. After that, we'll have PRs that surround that. We'll have articles written about us that use that as the foundation stone, and we will have industry-specific journalists and editorialists then talk about the industry trade publication write-up. And after that, the next tier would be groups like Wall Street Journal or Financial Times. Case studies are even more important and more powerful, involving practical applications. We have got one of those with Elastic, and we have another one coming up with either Microsoft or Amazon, and another one, actually the Alpha Week article is a case study itself with results, and actually written up by a person who is very familiar with the Sortino ratio, which is what we use to gauge the effectiveness of our overall system, alpha capture. Testimonials are then pretty important, backed up on top of the foundation that we've just described. And of course, ultimately, revenue can't come from anywhere, but when it does come, that is one of the most powerful things that you can announce to the public, and we will be announcing to the public that we are revenue positive. With a goal toward profitability. On the IR, PR, and Marcom side, we've also got GEM, our PR agency, that is leading the charge in terms of redistributing and syndicating and talking to the public about what Alpha Week, our trade industry publication, is talking about. And they'll be prepared to magnify the messaging. Another way we're magnifying the messaging is creating a demo video, and that's going to be pretty cool. We've got some resources reserved for that and allocated to getting that executed finally. On the sales and marketing side, which I'm going to include the corporate and business development side, we're on target there. The Alpha Week article, again, serves as a pillar in our foundation, in that it is, you might consider it a secret weapon in terms of executing on sales and marketing or any corporate development. Leading with a third party mentioning that you're the best thing since sliced bread is much better than you saying it yourself. And that will help to secure deals, revenue generating customer deals, and so forth, additional partners, and everything that results from that. On the customers, partners, and collaborators side, everything's on track for S&P Global. We were given a tour a couple of days ago of all the data sources that they offer, and that's more than anyone else in the world related to the financial markets. And we were given an overview. I can't say that we were shown everything. It was just the first overview. We're going to go through another run through of the data sources that they offer related to how we can acquire them and how we plug in through their APIs, and then begin to construct our data sets based on processing the language and applying our algorithms to then produce the correlation matrix data sets that they'll then offer internally to their groups and offer to their customers. They'll be making an announcement on that soon, as soon as we integrate some of their data sources. So that could take us a matter of days, it could take us a week. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just a rote software engineering exercise at this point. On the Bloomberg side, We are waiting until the Alpha Week article gets published because we're going to use that to seal the deal on our vetting process with them. We have been involved with FactSet. They reached out to us, and we asked S&P Global about FactSet, but not before they mentioned FactSet, which was interesting. The reason we asked S&P Global about FactSet when we had the call with them related to the data sources was that they mentioned FactSet as a competitor, or actually they just mentioned FactSet, and we didn't know if they were a competitor or if they were owned by S&P Global at that point. But we asked about why they had mentioned FactSet, and they had said that FactSet was a direct competitor, and we didn't know that, but we did tell them that we were talking with FactSet, so they began to distinguish themselves. FactSet, we are opening a dialogue with them this week, and we'll let everybody know how that goes on next week's call. FactSet is a data provider, and they're a pretty well-known data provider, and looks like we might be working with them. So that would involve the same sort of relationship we have with S&P Global and Bloomberg. And we've had new data on hold. We've had Amazon on hold. We've had Microsoft on hold. And let's first talk about Amazon. We have had Amazon on hold just simply based on a quicker path to revenue scenario. And we had planned to roll out data sets related to COVID-19 with Amazon and engage in a lot of fanfare about that. The data sources were changing rapidly at the time, and the fastest path to revenue we immediately found out was working with S&P Global's dataset group and Bloomberg's dataset group. That's the bottom line. The work that Amazon does with startups has come into question recently over the last week related to Amazon lifting technology, and that's not a concern for us. We've had companies try to do that in the past. We work on tip of the spear stuff, and it's extremely hard and difficult, almost impossible to lift everything that we do. So we've put in lots of protection in that area. So we're not too concerned about that, but we are moving cautiously with Amazon. Amazon's corporate investment arm. We'll be moving pretty cautiously there. With Microsoft, there's no need to move cautiously with Microsoft because we've worked with them before. We've worked with their investment arm before. So we're very comfortable with them. On the Trustology side, they would like to do a joint PR related to the Alpha Week article and S&P Global, so we'll be looping them in. We'll be looping LCX in as well. We're also going to be working with a private investor network that represents about 20,000 traditional market investors, and these are active investors, and they are interested in smart basket subscriptions. And this will put us more on the retail side, but as that unfolds, we'll keep everybody updated. And CERN, we went over that already. And we are reopening our dialogue with Splunk's philanthropic arm. I think it's called the Splunk for Good arm. They are focused on, from what we've heard, they're focused on infectious disease, COVID-19, and we have a few Splunk veterans invested in the company and in vectorspace, and we look forward to reopening that dialogue and maybe working together with Splunk on a few things. And we still have our dialogue with Elastic. In fact, they just reached out today, so we'll see how far that goes. No updates on the legal side. Everything's on target there. Exchanges. On the exchanges side, we've got the IDEX listing executed. Uniswap listing is executed. The next listing is to be determined. And again, this is all timing. One thing doesn't happen after the other based on dependencies. we are first going to have that Alpha Week article out. Then we will have S&P Global talking about us. Then we will go to our next exchange, unless we need to adapt. On the HR side, we've hired 2 part-timers to assist with customer support and administration, and a bit of operations. We also have questions from the trader base. The first question is, and I'm going to handle these on the fly here, when can we expect to be listed on KuCoin? LOL. I just answered that. Second question is, when can we expect the team's repurchase and liquidity solutions? Yes, we're going to be doing buybacks of VXV, and we're going to be doing them with revenue, and we're going to be doing them by other means. And one of the reasons for that is our goal with this company is to operate a tight cap table, and that means to operate with a decent-sized float or circulating supply. That's the only way to operate, and that means controlling that circulating supply or float, and that means reacquiring VXV as much as we can so that we can control most of the float. That's what we want to do. The next question, does Uniswap count as an exchange or coin market cap? If so, with IDEX, Probate, Uniswap, would that make 3? Okay, so people are looking to find out why our circulating supply is not mentioned on coin market cap. Coin market cap requires, I think, 3 exchanges. That's not a concern for us right now. Okay, next question, will U.S. citizens be able to buy on IDEX soon? You're going to have to ask IDEX. We don't know. Next question is, has the team started distributing data sets to anyone to a bid to battle COVID-19? In a bid to battle COVID-19. Not in a monetary bid, no. In a way that represents a research-based bid, yes. We can get into that later, but our COVID-19 datasets are available at vectorspaceai/covid19.html. And we're also going to encourage more questions geared toward product to market fit and revenue, and of course, infectious disease datasets, drug repurposing dataset questions. We also have our dataset insights section, and this will be short and sweet. What we'd like to do is offer a reward for anyone that can provide mathematical proof for how many different dataset types we offer. We have the ability to offer. We also are going to provide a reward to anyone that can design the best data set. And that would include choosing data sources, it would include choosing models, it would include choosing what your rows are and what your columns are, what you want to be correlated with. What 2 things would you like to be correlated with one another, and in what context? On the strategy side, we have a new FAQ that was worked out by a community member, in fact. So kudos to that community member. I forgot their name. We'll mention that later. But looks like they'll be getting a little VXV for that. On the investment club side, we are adding another investor network. The network that I mentioned earlier, 20,000 traditional market traders, a lot of Robin Hooders. And some of this network will intersect or be part of our investment club network. And this will involve, well, first off, this investor network analyzes 173 stocks, and they're looking to, or what they do with 173 stocks is they create groups of them and they trade them, they swing trade them. And what they'd like to do is create baskets of these using our technology, smart baskets, or thematically driven smart baskets. They'd like to do a revenue share. And that also places us in the retail space sooner than later. And more importantly, those traditional market traders that would like to trade baskets, those 20,000, I'm sure they'd also like to trade crypto. So we'll be providing them with baskets of crypto and traditionals, of course, like we'd always planned. And we're sure they'd like to take positions in VXV, and every basket will have VXV in it as a result. We're also going to, as a matter of strategy, we're going to be showcasing to the world the ongoing results to date of our coronavirus thematic smart basket returns, and our Palantir IPO thematic smart basket, and our Snowflake IPO thematic smart basket. The Palantir IPO smart basket, thematic smart basket, that's what we'd like to call them now, we anticipate to be highlighted in our next Alpha Week article. We're also looking at a possible double tsunami here. The first tsunami that we talked about was cash going to the sidelines and then coming back in like a wave into crypto. It looks like it might go back out again, considering the unemployment numbers worldwide and considering the unprecedented and unpredictable economic environment the entire world is headed toward. The only thing we can predict is uncertainty at this point. And this could mean a complete sea change in the way technology is applied to solving problems, in the way AI is applied to solving problems. We foresee that human-in-the-loop AI will become more important than ever, where machine intelligence is different than anything we'd ever expect or predict. Well, using this machine intelligence, complementing a more superior human intelligence, our own, this is the kind of combination that we're looking at that's going to create an upheaval and change everything and apply around the world, especially to life sciences. So this week, we can look forward to the Alpha Week article being published. That's the first article in a series on vector space and what we do. And we will also be announcing that we're revenue positive. So this will continue to drive our efforts, of course, toward COVID-19 drug repurposing solutions and the data sets designed for personalized medicine, which will continue to advance. This is a refined direction the company has chosen to go in addition to the others, and we're not losing our focus, but we've got our eyes on the prize. This has been a pre-recorded call, so if you have any questions, feel free to post them online. Thanks for joining.